What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, programmers of all ages? Welcome back to Introduction to HaxeFlixel and another week's of tutorial. So this is tutorial 20 or tutorial 19, depending on whether you count tutorial 0 as part of the rank. But as far as counting it, this is tutorial 19 or the 20th tutorial. So in last week's tutorial, we added the testing menu to make testing our new features simpler, and something I wish I've thought of doing around video 3. In any case, this week we are going to work on setting up the melee test state to make testing our melee characters easier for ourselves. Now let's jump in and kick some ass. So first up, we create a new private variable for our player of type player, private variable for the melee monsters. It is going to be of type FLX typed, if I can spell, typed group, and it's of type melee monster. And then finally we have the private variable for the projectiles, which is also FLX typed group of projectile. Awesome. Okay, so let's make a bit of space in our create function. We set the world bounds. I probably have to import FLXG, so let's import FLXG, world bounds, set. We set it, we start off at minus 5,000 by minus 5,000, and we say it has a width of 10,000 and a height of 10,000. That way the world bound stretches from x minus 5,000 to x 5,000 and minus y 5,000 to y 5,000. Okay, next up we set the projectiles. And then we add the projectiles to our scene so that they can be rendered. Next up is the player, so player equals new player, and we can just spawn the player at 0.00, which is slap bang in the middle of our world bound. And then we add the player to our scene. Now we want the camera to follow the player, so we say flxg.camera.follow player top down, and with a lerp unit of 1 to make it a bit more smooth. According to the tutorial on the HaxeFlixel website, I still have no clue how to do lerping, or can't remember the other one. I think it's tween. I still can't do tweens. Still figuring that part out. In any case, so melee monsters equals new FLX typed group of melee monster, and then add the melee monster typed group to our scene. Now we want to populate the melee monster typed group, so we say underscore in 0 to 10 to 1000. So I am kind of pushing the limits of our computer a bit to see how much units we can have on the screen at any given time, and I found 1000 to be handled quite successfully actually. My computer barely broke a sweat from it. So we say melee monsters, we add a new melee monster, add a random float point between minus 5,000 and positive 5,000. So same for the y, so it's again a random point between minus 5,000 and positive 5,000. We want it to target the player, and it's going to be of type dot zombie. Ah, there's our issue. And then we just have to import melee type. Cool. And then we want to do that again. So melee monsters dot add new melee monster. Now we can just copy the first bit, so everything up to the type of the monster, and then we say the type in this case will be a skeleton. So now we should have 1,000 zombies and 1,000 skeletons on our world when we spawn into the test map, and that should be pretty good way to test whether our thing works, whether we can handle that many units. To be determined. Maybe your computer can, maybe your computer can handle more. Maybe you should test how many characters your computer can handle, and maybe drop down in the comments and we can have a mini computer fight to see who can handle the most characters on the screen at once. Because why not, right? So then we say override, and then we want to override the update function. So we just make a bit of space and also scroll down, my bad. So first we want to test if the player wants to shoot. Next we want to say projectiles dot for each alive handle projectile or handle projectiles. Next we want to test for collisions and overlap. So we want to test for overlap between melee monsters and projectiles. Handle monster projectile collisions. And then we want to handle collision detection between the player and the melee monsters. Handle player monster collisions. So you will notice that we're not testing to see if there's an overlap between the projectiles and the player, because melee characters can't shoot projectiles, so it's kind of unnecessary to test for it. So we just don't test for it. Next up, we should start implementing these functions. So we say private function shoot. So if flxg dot mouse dot just pressed nose itch. So var mouse pos for mouse position equals flxg dot mouse dot get position, and then we say projectiles dot add new projectile. Why you do this? Projectile. So we want to say player dot get graphics middle point dot x, and we can just copy that graphics middle point again. Copy middle point dot y. Then we say the target is the mouse position, and then the projectile type is of type firebolt. We will still implement the feature to select which type of projectile we are going to shoot, but for now it's still hard-coded. Next we say the spawner of the projectile is the player, and then we want to say player and then play the firing animation from the player's point of view. Cool. So scroll down a bit. Next function is private function handle projectiles, and then we want to say projectile of type projectile. Cool. So if projectile dot get duration alive is greater or equal to 2 units, then we want to say, well, we can actually just remove the curly braces and then just tab over projectile dot kill. Awesome. Now for our last two functions, we say private function handle monster projectile collisions. We want the monster of type melee monster and the projectile of type projectile. So if projectile dot get spawner equals underscore player. See if I can type. Then we want to say the monster should be killed and the projectile should be killed as well. Awesome. Now for our final function, we say private function handle player monster collisions. We say player of type player and monster of type monster. And then for this we just want to say player dot set position to where the player was originally spawned. So we can save that. Oh yeah, I should probably say melee monster rather than just monster. No other issues. Let's see if it compiles. So control tilde, then we say line test HL for hashlink and then dash debug and press enter or whatever the equivalent of enter is on the Mac. I'll be back when this compiles. Okay, it has compiled. Let me just drag this down a bit. We can then say test and then melee map, and now you can see we are severely overrun by all kinds of creepy crawlies, and I can still shoot them. No. So, and now you can see we are getting trapped very quickly, and the monsters are just gonna keep coming. They're just gonna keep trying to kill us. We're just gonna keep dying, keep getting respawned back where they originally killed us from, and we are forever trapped in a horde of zombies and skeletons. And I will admit, this view does put me in a mood to create a type of zombie game where you are just constantly overrun by millions and millions of 16-bit zombies and skeletons. Like, come on, how does this not look like an awesome game? You have like hordes and hordes of zombies coming up to crush our soul and eat our bones and drink our blood and whatever zombies and skeletons does. I don't exactly know how the skeletons will do it, but in any case, so that should be it for this week. But just before you go, If you enjoyed this week's video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, maybe send the video on to a friend that's trying to learn game development for the first time, or who just likes game development in general. Maybe they get some use out of the video. It will greatly support the channel, but if you want to go beyond supporting the channel by simply just liking it, and by no means are you like forced to do so, maybe head on over to 8-Bit Swag, get yourself some nice developer swag, maybe a nice Hax hoodie. You can go over to the search and just say Hax. Now if the drop down will come, then we get the Hax hoodie, Hax shirt, Hax v-neck shirt, and then the Hax laptop sticker. And it should look absolutely awesome on you or someone you love, or maybe a friend, who knows. So I hope you have an awesome week and enjoy. Goodbye.